Welcome back to Sub-Zero Hero, where our head of youth development has been in touch, and you'll be pleased to see, well, he talks in just as cryptic messages as the old one. This is a terrific group of players, you know the type. A real golden generation, except one of those golden generations where virtually every position on the football pitch is being stocked with players who are not going to make it. Goalkeepers aren't mentioned, neither are centre halves, you never know. We might have a bit of an award winner coming through in those two positions, but today we've got more pressing matters to tend to. We've got the final game of the season, and I'll tell you, it's a little bit of a biggie, this one. And so to that final game of the season, where you'll see we've got a game away against Moss. They are in the relegation playoff spot that we were filling 2 seasons ago when we were at this level. But if you look further up the table, you'll find that we have wriggled our way back in to a promotion playoff spot. And a win today means that place is ours. There are 2 teams that could still catch us if we slip up. Hopefully, it won't come to that. Here's our form since our last episode where we were beating Haugesund 1-0. Well, it looks like we've had some pretty disappointing form, but we have been playing some of the top teams in the division. Sandefjord are second in the table. They're looking good for promotion, and we managed to get a 2-2 draw with them. We lost 2-1 to Mjøndalen, but they're currently third in the table, battling it out with Sandefjord for that automatic promotion place. So no disgrace in those results. Brine are a mid-table team, but when we played them, they were in the midst of a 6-game unbeaten run, so a draw with them was not a disgrace. And the result against Usana was actually quite impressive. Granted, they're relegated, but we managed to put 4 goals past them, a couple of them, for little Christian Knutsen, who's playing pretty well and has got 8 goals for the season now. This, though, was a little bit more of a worrying result. We played Ålesund. They're the team that could overtake us today, and it's because of this result. They beat us 3-0. And to be honest, they were the only team that was competing in this match. We were just there to make up the numbers, it seemed. We got a 3-2 win against mid-table Arendal in the next game, but we weren't that convincing in this match either. And we were relying on a late penalty in order to get us the 3 points we needed to mount that playoff push. So in the next game, we tweaked the tactic just a tad. We reverted back to a 4-4-2. We pulled the wide players back. We moved one of our players back into a centre-forward position. We actually looked pretty impressive in this game. If you have a look at the XG, we probably could have scored more goals than we actually did. A penalty from Emper, 10 goals in the league now for him, and another goal from Gersa, and a third one from Hartvigsson got us the points. If you have a look at the average ratings of the players, we did not play too badly in this game. So it means that the table is looking kind to us. We can't get up as high as 5th and catch Mjøndalen. It's all about making sure we grab that 6th place to get us into those playoff positions. So we need to go and put our squad together and get out there against Moss and see how we can perform. So this is what we're thinking for our final game. We're going to revert back to the 4-4-2. It's a pretty typical back 4 for us with Nessa at right back, Kristoffersen at left back. We still, 7 seasons into this save, don't have a left back. Kristoffersen's really a winger filling in back there. Doesn't look like we're going to get one in the next youth intake as well. We're going to play Osali Hansen back there, who's our skipper, alongside Edoy Hansen, who is doing a bit of a Nessa. He's another player now that is refusing to even negotiate a contract and hasn't been willing to negotiate for the best part of a year now. And it looks like we might lose him because his contract is up at the end of next season. Maybe a little promotion tilt in the playoffs might convince him that we're worth staying around at, because he's got some mental attributes that mean that he is developing into a pretty useful defender. But it looks like we might be looking at trying to sell him in the next window or the one after that. Across the midfield, we're going with Gersa, who has had a pretty solid campaign again. He's up to 9 goals in the league this season. Great return for a right winger, 4 assists as well. He's not quite got an average rating of a 7 yet, but he has played very well. We're going to have little Jonas Hartvigsson over on the left wing, 10 goals when he's been playing as a wide player for a lot of the season. Not a bad return for him, and he's still only 18 years old. In fact, we've got a very young midfield there, because we're going to play Tony Berg, whose attributes are not the best, but he's got our highest average rating of any of our players in the squad. There's just a little something about him that means that he plays well. Maybe it's the free kicks and the corners that he provides for us, which have helped secure us a few goals in recent games. Here is the man that is just training incredibly well still. This is Martin Dusund Ibsen, who has now gone up almost 70 attribute points for the season. And I was wondering when he first came through whether he was actually going to make it. Well, you stick 70 attribute points on him, and he's still only 15 years old. He is looking like a talent, and the good news is that we have got him to pre-sign a new contract that will kick in at the end of the season. So we've got him for the next 4 years guaranteed as well. And then up front, it's our not so dynamic duo. Or am I being unfair? Here's little Hugo Emper. He's got 10 goals in 22 starts this season, a better return than he was able to muster last campaign. And he's going to be playing as that complete forward today. And then little Chrissy Nuts is going to be his more pacey attacking partner. Acceleration of 14. The finishing is now up to 10. The composure's there as well. He's only 17 years old. He managed to get a hat-trick on the final day of last season to get his first goals for the club. And he's got 8 this campaign. And he can rotate with Hartvigsson and go out there and play on the left, although we'd have to push him a little bit further forward. So he's another useful little player that we've just embedded into the squad this season. So these are the boys that we're going to rely on to go out there and beat a team that are already in a relegation playoff and snag us that final promotion playoff position. Okay, we are underway. We are the away team. Moss have got 4 defeats and a draw in their last 5 games, so you can already tell how this one's going to go. Although we are on the attack pretty early, but that peters out into nothing. Our under-19s, by the way, have wrapped up their season. They rallied. They went into their final game of the season with a chance of winning the under-19 title for the 2nd season running. Unfortunately, they got smashed 5-0 by Bird of Glimpse under-19s because we had a first-team game on the same day and most of our players were unavailable. We actually had to play 2 greyed-out players in that fixture, and they were not able to live with Bode Glimt, who actually did win the under-19s title. But at least they recovered, and at least one of our players who's still eligible to be playing for those under-19s has just struck home a goal in the 20th minute that gets us into the lead. I'm just seeing a little score flash saying Arlesund are winning, so it's a good job that we've just scored that goal on cue. And that's a nice crisp little volley into the corner. And we're about to shout a demand more, but the boys have now got us into the lead. So that is a good little start. A second before half-time would help settle the nerves a little bit. And to that end, Tony Berg is on the corners. He's got our Emperor up there, and Hugo has just notched his 11th of the season. And I'm even going to throw out a little bit of praise there. These boys have actually come out and performed pretty well for us. Gersa, Asali Hansen and Christofferson are the only players older than 20 in this starting 11, and Gersa's only just turned 21. So for these boys to come out there and actually put up a bit of a show is a good old start. We've got a little bit of defending to do now, though. Here's where we normally give away our penalties. Not today. Pedersen holds on to one, and we're right into the highlights again. We've got a cross in. Looks like we're going to pick the ball up. Could we go for a third? Gersa's in. He can't quite stick his shot away, and I think he was offside as well. He's played pretty impressively for the last 5 or 6 games. Being a really good player for us, and he's one of the players that has that solid green consistency mark when you check his report. Doesn't half seem to make a difference when you're playing in some of these big key matches. We're still 8 minutes from half time, and we're into the highlights again, and Moss are coming at us. They definitely seem to have upped their game a little bit since going 2-0 down, and they've drifted a little effort just wide. I think we're hanging on for half time a little bit. All of a sudden seem to be 3-0 up now, 3-1 up. They're winning their game. Kongsvinger seem to be losing. That's good. But if we win this game, it's not going to matter a jot. And we're going to be coming back for more games in this season because we'll have made it into the playoffs. We've got Gersa now. He's on the edge of the box. He needs to lay it back and get a cross in. He doesn't. He backheels it to their own defender. And we're rumbling our way into half-time. I'm going to brand that, although maybe not an impressive first half, certainly a satisfactory one. We're going to go and have a word with the boys, see if we need to rest any tired legs yet, and try and G them up to see it through in the second period. And away we go for the second half. There are no changes, although we've got a couple of players not playing too well, including Nessa at right back, so we'll keep an eye on that. You'll also notice, neither in the lineup or on the subs bench today, is Auden Schurnason. He's picked up an injury that's going to keep him out for the next 3 months, so he's done. If we do make it into these playoffs, he is not going to be featuring. And now we've got Moss on the attack again. We set the ambition for this season to just try and avoid a relegation battle and finish in a nice, comfortable mid-table position. But now that we're here, well, we are dreaming about those playoffs and what could happen. It's a bit of an elongated route through these playoffs. Finishing in 6th, we'd have a playoff against the team that come 3rd, I think. Then we'd have to play a playoff final against the other team from this division. And even that doesn't guarantee you promotion. You're then into a game against the team that comes 3rd bottom in the Premier Division. So it's a tough ask, even if we get into these playoffs, to think about getting out of them again. But you know what? I think as we approach the 55-minute mark, it's time to potentially bring on some fresh legs. Okay, couple of changes made, including bringing Nessa off because he was not playing well, and bringing on a new player over on the left wing called Hugo Riding, which means that we've popped Hartfixen up front. We take an Emperor off because he was tiring. We are on the defensive again. We've still got plenty of time left in this game, and I don't feel it's won yet. Here's Hartfixen, so he's playing the complete forward role, and he's slipped in little Chrissy Nuts, who's fired one wide of the goal. At least we were threatening, I suppose. I think we need to demand more shout. We're defending once more. We've got it with Christofferson. Try and play our way out, shall we, rather than just go long? No, we will just go long and return possession to Moss. We've got more defending to do, haven't we? We've not looked great since going that second goal up. And they're in, and I think they have got a goal. And you know what? I wish I hadn't given that demand more shout, because the berate shout is well and truly on. A draw, I don't think is actually going to be enough for us. I think we've got to win this game, and this was just far too easy. Our defence was too passive, and Lutvet has just rolled one into the corner, and yet again we are making this difficult on ourselves. We still can't give out the shouts. Maybe we can at least bring on a third sub, and we'll see you for the end of the game. Okay, we've got 10 minutes to try and see out in this game. The XG's pretty even, isn't it? And we're into the highlights. We've got a corner, and we're in. And it counts. And we've just brought on Ola Christian Jensen in replacement for Ibsen, who was pulling one of his sub 6.5 performances again. And Berger sent in his second good corner of the game. And Jensen's there on the far post, and that should settle it, shouldn't it? That should mean that we're there and we're in the driving seat. Ålesund have done their bit. They've got a 5-1 win today. But if we hold on to this, it's not going to matter. We're going to be coming back next episode to see whether we can get a little bit of a playoff charge on the go. Or are we speaking too soon? We're in injury time, but Moss are in again. It's that same man. Oh, and now the cat's back amongst the pigeons, isn't it? We are going to berate the team for letting them in once more. Oh, and it's the player we're training as the right back, Nurum Danielson, with a lunge that's let them in. And we're not quick enough. We lack pace at the back. if that's what our head of youth development would like to bring us, by the way, a pacey, solid centre-half, we would not say no. We have clung on, though. I'm not sure we were that convincing, but we scored 3 goals again. Second game running with the 4-4-2. We've hit 3 goals in a game. Some worrying performances from Nessa and Doosan Dibson, but Emper's scored again. Hartvigsson scored again. Tony Berg, I told you, the guy plays well, and I think it's that set-piece delivery that's propping up his stats. But we have done it. Mid-table was the aim, to be honest. Anything that avoided relegation I'd have been pleased with. We've snuck our way in to the playoffs. I think if we go forward, the team that we're going to be playing is Ham Cam, and I don't think we've had a great time against them this season. Looks like we managed to get a 0-0 draw, and then earlier on in the season, a 3-0 defeat. We're going to have to go away, do a little bit of training with the boys, and work out a little bit of a strategy, because potentially we're only 3 rounds of the playoffs away from playing in the Premier Division in Sub-Zero Hero.